Happy December. Welcome to the Love Over Fear show. I'm going to give this a moment to load and tell me that we're live. There we go. I'm also putting on some hand cream because I don't know if I have any other Midwesterners out there watching this video. I live in Chicago and it is dry as a bone this time of year. Anyway, hello. Welcome everybody to the Love Over Fear show. For anyone who is not familiar with me, hello, good to sort of meet you. My name is Sarah. I am the lead body-mind integration expert here at Healing Embodied. I work alongside of our lovely founder and CEO, Chelsea Horton, and I have the pleasure of co-hosting the Love Over Fear show, but I get to do the episode today. So for anyone who is not familiar with the Love Over Fear show, if this is your first time joining us, hello. Give me a shout out down in the comments if this is your first time tuning into one of these episodes. Also, let me make sure I'm in the right page here. So the Love Over Fear show is a show that we do twice a month here in the free Moving Beyond Fear Facebook community. That is our relationship anxiety support community here in the beautiful world of Facebook. And what we do is we have monthly themes that we explore in the Moving Beyond Fear Facebook group. And these Love Over Fear show episodes take the monthly theme and just expand on it even further. So last month we explored self-trust, and this month the last theme of 2021, can you believe it, is #gratitude. We are ending the year on this note. We are ending the year by exploring gratitude. So this show, the Love Over Fear show, it's kind of a combination of a TED Talk, an educational webinar, a podcast. It's kind of Healing Embodied's version of a podcast for now. Wink, wink. Who knows what 2021 will bring. Right, Chelsea? The goal of this show is to inspire you, help you feel empowered, provide education, and provide continuing resources. So every time we do these shows, we are sharing our expertise on these particular topics, and then we always offer you an option for continued support. So if you are watching these episodes, if you're watching these videos, if they are hitting home for you, if they are really helpful, and if you want to dive in deeper to what we're talking about, we will always share with you how you can do that if you choose to. So I will come on back to that at the very end. But let's dive in here, shall we? Let's dive in. So, theme this month is gratitude. And for today's episode, we are going to be exploring what gratitude is and what gratitude is not. I have this conversation and explore this in our group program, the Luscious Immersion, a lot. And I really like this conversation and this topic. I think exploring what gratitude isn't, the messages we've heard about gratitude, and how that might not necessarily be a realistic expectation of gratitude, and really looking at what it actually is extremely helpful. So we're going to be exploring what gratitude is not, what it is, and some barriers to reaching gratitude. And then Chelsea's going to be back in a couple of weeks before we head into the holidays to share about embodying gratitude. So let's do this thing, shall we? Shall we jump in? I see a couple people out there watching live. If you are here live, say hey, give me a shout out, give me a wave, let me know. I say this every month, but I promise you these episodes are a lot more enjoyable if it's not just me talking at an empty screen. They're a lot more fun for everybody and more beneficial to all of you out there if you are interacting with me in the chat. So, say hey. All right, this is what I want to start with. I want to start with an exercise. Okay, so if you're here live, share in the comments. If you're catching this video later, think to yourself in your head, what are some of the messages you have heard about practicing gratitude? You might have heard these from family members, society, BuzzFeed, Instagram, Pinterest, friends, teachers, mentors, peers, anything. What are some of the messages that you have heard about practicing gratitude? Okay, it's an open-ended question. Share in the comments or think to yourself in your head, hey Alexa, I'm glad you're there, thanks for saying hey. So what are some of the messages you have heard about practicing gratitude? Starting with that, because gratitude is a nice little buzzword in our society these days. This is all fine and good. I am very pleased that people are attempting to practice gratitude. I'm very pleased that we are focusing on an energy of gratitude in our world. Our nation and our world needs that more than anything these days. This is all fine and good. The issue is that most people have a very unrealistic idea of what it actually means to practice gratitude. Okay, so some of these messages we've heard, or what we've internalized from these messages, have created a very unrealistic idea of what this actually means. There are a lot of myths. There are a lot of expectations about what it means to be grateful and what gratitude can do for you in your life. And I'm going to spend some time kind of debunking these today. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid here. It's not going to be super pretty, but that's okay. So most people out there, myself, past me included, younger Sarah, like 23-year-old Sarah, most people think that practicing gratitude is like making a list of everything you're grateful for, choosing only to pay attention to the things in life that make you feel thankful, only seeing the good in the midst of a bad or uncomfortable situation, focusing only on the good parts of life, that kind of thing. You're hearing me say the words only, everything, I'm getting a little extreme here in my languaging, right? Focusing only on the good, focusing only on the things that you're grateful for. So in doing this, often the expectation that we have, whether you're aware of it or not, you might not even be aware that this expectation is there. Often the expectation we have is that in practicing gratitude, you will somehow avoid pain. If I only focus on what I'm grateful for, if I only focus on the good, on the lessons I'm learning, then somehow I'm not going to feel pain in life. If we feel grateful, if we practice gratitude constantly and consistently, if we make a gratitude list or journal every day, then we won't feel pain. We will feel thankfulness and joy and peace and contentedness. We will only feel pleasant emotions. So 9 times out of 10, there's an expectation. Again, we might be conscious of it, we might not be. There's an expectation that gratitude is somehow the opposite. It's going to eliminate suffering. That suffering and gratitude cannot coexist. Pain and gratitude cannot coexist. So if we only feel gratitude, if we throw all of our energy into feeling grateful, then suffering, pain, discomfort, it will be eliminated in life. Does anybody have that belief? As I'm saying this, are you like, oh, I might think that, or I might have thought that in my life? It might sound like messages like this. It might sound like, other people have it worse than you. You should be grateful for what you have that others don't. Or other people have it worse than me, so I just need to be grateful for what I have. It might sound like this pain was put in your life for a reason, so be grateful for the lesson that it's teaching you. It might sound like, just be grateful that this happened now and not 12 years from now. You have so much to be thankful for. Why are you focusing on the negative? Why are you so negative when you have so much to be grateful for? Any of these sound familiar? Has anyone heard anything like that in life from others? Have you talk to yourself in that way? I know that I have in the past. Okay, so let me get a sip of water. Here's the thing. Listen, because sometimes I can get some flack for this, all right? I am all for focusing on what you're grateful for. I am all for focusing on abundance over scarcity. I am all for honoring the lessons that our pain teaches us. I do believe that there is learning in all parts of life, especially the discomfort and the pain. I am all for that. However, I am not all for that at the expense of invalidating our emotions. So that's the piece that I really want to put a pin in here. That is so often the result of this kind of toxic positivity, unrealistic expectations around gratitude. When we are fully functioning from this belief of I have so much, so I should focus on what I'm grateful for. This is teaching me a lesson, so I should just be grateful for it. We end up invalidating the unpleasant experiences and emotions we're having. We end up shaming and judging ourselves and others for having them, and we end up feeling worse. Because if we have these messages in our head of other people have it worse than you should be grateful for what you have that others don't, what's the unspoken part there? The unspoken part there is that you shouldn't be feeling what you're feeling. What you're feeling is not okay in the given situation, right? That is invalidation. We end up feeling worse. We either feel worse in the moment because we're like, I'm feeling upset, but I should be feeling grateful. I shouldn't be feeling upset. Or we feel worse later on because we've ignored our unpleasant emotions and they'll come back with a vengeance and bite us in the ass later. One of those two things is going to happen when we invalidate what's happening in the moment and we invalidate our emotions. We either feel worse in the moment and we just replace whatever we were feeling with shame, or we layer shame on top of shame, or we might be able to shift into kind of a fake version of gratitude and be like, well, this is just here to teach me a lesson, so I'm going to be grateful for it. And the sadness, the pain, the anger, the frustration, the grief, the loss, it's not going anywhere. You're just stuffing it down. You're stuffing it down. It's not leaving. You're not getting rid of it. You're stuffing it down. And whatever you stuff down is going to come up later on. Okay? That's my TED Talk here. Let's see. Alexa said, yeah, I've always heard that, but it doesn't make you feel good in the moment. It just makes me feel guilty. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So if you are feeling an unpleasant emotion and you receive a message either internally or externally of you have so much to be grateful for, you should just be grateful, you don't suddenly feel grateful. If that were the case, I wouldn't be here. I would not have a job. I would not be doing this. We wouldn't be here together. None of us would have anxiety. None of us would have unpleasant emotions if it were as easy as just being like, oh yeah, I should feel grateful. Okay, now I'm grateful. You don't end up feeling grateful. You end up feeling guilty and shameful and embarrassed and judgmental, right? So, gratitude. Gratitude is not consistent, constant happiness. It is not feeling pleasant emotions all the time. Unpleasant emotions and gratitude can coexist. Unpopular opinion here, but I'm sticking to it. Gratitude and unpleasant emotions can coexist. Gratitude is not a constant feeling of happiness or pleasant emotions. Gratitude is also not liking or loving every little thing about yourself, your life, your partner. That's not gratitude. It's impossible. Okay? Practicing gratitude does not suddenly make you love these parts of yourself, your life, and your partner that you previously didn't like or had a reaction to. That's not gratitude. Gratitude doesn't eliminate the thing that you don't like. It just helps you see it as part of a full picture. Okay? Take my husband, for example. I do not like some of the things that he does. Because he's a human, he's an imperfect human, I am an imperfect human. I don't like them. When I practice gratitude, I am enormously grateful for him, enormously grateful for who he is, what he's given me, him being in my life, like exploding with gratitude. Doesn't mean that I suddenly like these things that he does that I didn't like. It means that I see them as part of a full, complex human. When we are not practicing gratitude, what often happens is we zoom in on the things we don't like and we only see those. Gratitude helps you not only see those, it broadens your scope. I can see him as this amazing, complex human with a couple of pieces that I don't like so much. Okay? But I don't only see those pieces. I see those as part of a giant puzzle that I'm deeply in love with. Right? That's what gratitude does for you. And last thing, gratitude is not the absence of unpleasant experiences. Right? Like I said earlier, gratitude and unpleasant emotions, they can fully coexist. All right? So that is what gratitude is not. Feel free to argue with me in the comments. People here watching, tell me how this is sinking in with you. You with me here? You want to challenge me? I love a good challenge. Feel free to fight me on this one. Gratitude is not consistent happiness, the absence of unpleasant emotions, or liking or loving every little thing about yourself, your life, and your partner. That's what it's not. Okay, so what the hell is it? Right? What is it then? Okay, it's not those things, so what is it? So gratitude, real gratitude, true gratitude. I'm not talking Pinterest gratitude. I'm talking like real life here. It is all about presence. Okay? It's all about presence. Gratitude is a deep, deep understanding that all things in life are finite. Nothing is infinite. They are all finite. And it's allowing yourself to experience what is right now. It's appreciating the isness of life. It's appreciation for what is right now. And it comes from a deep recognition that it's all finite. Okay. So I want to share, let's see, someone said, I actually agree, so no arguing here. My kind of people out there. I like it. Agree with me. No, I'm kidding. I want to share a little bit about the connection between love, grief, and gratitude. Yes, I did throw that third G word in there, second G word in there. Love is not spelled with a G. I threw in the word grief. All right, we got to touch on grief if we're going to talk about gratitude. I'm sorry, we got to do it. It's part of the conversation here. Okay, so I meant to grab something else. Okay, we're just going to use my pen here. So, love, grief, and gratitude. Anybody out there enjoy feeling grief? Anybody? No? I didn't think so. Same. Grief sucks. Okay? It hurts. It's unpleasant. It doesn't feel good. Right? Many, many, many of us, particularly those of us prone to anxiety, particularly those of us prone to anxiety within our relationships, work really hard to avoid feeling grief. We work really hard. Our anxiety works really hard to avoid feeling grief. Okay? But the thing about emotions is that you cannot selectively numb them. I was just talking to a client about this morning. You cannot selectively numb emotions. Can't do it. At least I haven't found a way to do it yet. If anybody out there has found a way to do it, drop me a comment or a DM, because I'm still looking. I haven't found a way to do it, and I don't think that you can. Okay? So love and grief are completely connected. If you think about this pen, I was going to call it a stick, this pen. On one end is love. On the other end is grief. They're on the same stick. Two opposite ends, but the same stick. So if I try to not feel grief, if I try to avoid feeling grief, if I say, nope, I'm not doing that one, I'm not feeling that, I'm throwing it out, boop, put it in the trash. What went with it? The love. You can't just pop the pen cap off and get rid of grief. It doesn't work that way. They're a package, okay? You can't get rid of grief without feeling love. You can't feel love without also being willing to feel grief, okay? But there's a couple little points in the middle here that I want to highlight. So if love is over here and grief is over here, as we tiptoe from grief over towards love, we reach this point of a deep recognition that all things in life are finite. Nothing is forever. Nothing is forever, okay? Grief, deep recognition that everything's finite, nothing is forever. When we recognize that and we keep tiptoeing along this stick, we get to this point of immense gratitude for what's happening right now, because we recognize that it can't be forever. Nothing can be forever. So notice that I didn't say we feel gratitude for the good things that are happening to us. No, we feel gratitude for all things because we know that it's all finite. And in accessing that gratitude, that opens the door to accessing love. We can't feel any of these points without accessing all of these points. Okay? You can't feel love if you haven't grieved. And the reason we grieve is because we've loved. And allowing ourselves access to those portals, allowing ourselves to feel this deep recognition that all things are finite, this deep presence and this deep gratitude, then we allow ourselves to feel love and grief. Okay? So if you have ever felt like you can't feel love, like you can't access it, ask yourself, am I allowing myself to grieve? And am I accessing gratitude for what is right now? Okay? Love and grief. They are connected. They are friends. We cannot have one without the other. They are a package deal. Package deal here, baby. Okay? Whew. Yeah, let's take a nice little breath with that. Grief is a hard one to talk about, and it will come back. We will circle back into grief in the future, I promise. It's going to be a hot topic here. It always is in this work. It always is. Okay. So, thoughts on that. People here live. Thoughts, questions, feelings about gratitude, grief, love, the connection, confusions, questions, anything. Share in the comments. And let's talk about some barriers, shall we? This is the last thing I'm going to touch on today. So we talked about what gratitude is not, what it is, and let's talk about some barriers to feeling it. Okay, so there are two big boys here. There can be 1,000,001 barriers to feeling gratitude. If you know some of your specific barriers, share them in the comments or shoot us an email. Let me know. I want to know what your barriers are. There are two big ones that I'm going to touch on today. First one is unrealistic expectations of gratitude. Okay, if we expect that practicing gratitude will save us or spare us from ever feeling pain, we're not going to be able to access it fully. Because remember, gratitude is about feeling what's happening in the present moment fully, and sometimes the present moment sucks. Sometimes what's happening right now, here in this moment, ain't pleasant. It doesn't feel good. It kind of blows. Okay, but gratitude can still exist even in the midst of the suck, even in the midst of the shit. Gratitude can still be there. It doesn't eliminate the shit, but it can coexist with it. Okay? And remember the stick. Love, gratitude, grief. Okay? If we expect that in feeling gratitude we will somehow fully eliminate grief, it doesn't work that way. We're not going to be able to access gratitude because we're throwing away grief. And in throwing away the grief, we are throwing the gratitude and the love away with it. So that can be a huge barrier to accessing gratitude, is unrealistic expectations of what it's going to lead to and what you're going to feel or not feel when you access gratitude. Okay. Kona said, yes, barriers, please. Yeah, right? So what are your barriers, Kona, watching out there? What are some of the barriers that you experience when you attempt to access gratitude? What gets in the way for you? Share in the comments so I can address those. Okay, because I'm just sharing about the two biggies, which will probably land for you, but share what yours are so I can touch on them. Okay, that's a big one. Unrealistic expectations of the gratitude. We attempt to throw out the unpleasant feelings. We attempt to never feel pain again, and in doing that, we are also throwing out the gratitude. Okay, and that's very connected to the second big barrier, which is fear of loss. Fear of loss, fear of grief. Okay, when we fear loss, we often fear the feeling of grief. So the fear of loss can look different for anyone. It might be not ever being 2 feet in fully in your relationship, always having 1 foot out the door, because that will make it easier if somehow if for some reason we break up in the future, at least I'll be prepared. It can look like self-sabotage of ending relationships prematurely, because then you're the one in control. I can't get hurt if I hurt them first. It might look like numbing your emotions. It might look like constant nitpicking and overthinking your relationship because you're trying to make sure that nothing is ever going to happen in the future that could somehow cause you pain. It might be a huge fear that you are going to break your partner's heart. Chelsea just shared about that on Instagram yesterday, Triggered Tuesday. I love Triggered Tuesday. This fear that a lot of us hold of, what if I break my partner's heart? Okay, a lot of this fear of loss, and what's beneath that? Fear of grief. Because what would you feel if those things happened? If you lost something that was so deeply important to you and that you cared about so much, what would you feel? Grief. You would feel deep grief, right? And remember the stick. We can't eliminate just grief. If we do that, we are also throwing away gratitude and love. So when we fear loss, when we fear grief, we do everything in our power to avoid feeling it. Remember, I said that earlier. Anxiety kicks in and does everything it can to keep us from feeling the grief. So we numb out the grief, and then we end up numbing the love and the gratitude. Huge barrier to feeling the feeling of gratitude. Okay, let me check in with the comments here. You touched on both. Okay, yeah, good. So these big ones are ringing true for you, right? Those are the two biggest barriers that I have encountered in my personal and professional life for accessing gratitude. Unrealistic expectations of gratitude and fear of loss. There is a third one that I'm just going to hint at right now and not really dive into because it is in our post for next week. We're sharing a really kick-ass video. So stay tuned. Next Monday we'll be sharing it. But a third barrier to feeling gratitude is waiting for external factors, external events, or people to give you the feeling of gratitude instead of cultivating it yourself. That's the third big barrier here. Something outside of myself should make me feel grateful instead of me accessing that from within, with the emotion coming from the outside in versus the inside out. I'm just going to hint at that one and throw it out there. Stay tuned as we dive into that more. Kona said, here's one barrier. If I am constantly in situations where my lessons repeat and cannot get out of it, how can I feel gratitude? But I guess they're connected to the two big barriers. Yes, so Kona, what I'm hearing is that it can often feel like you are, to me, if you're saying the lessons repeat themselves, that sounds circular. Okay, that sounds like, oh, I'm just back in the same situation again. This is just happening over and over again to me. The same thing over and over. How does this keep happening? That sounds very cyclical, very circular to me. Whereas it's actually probably not circular. It's more of this upward spiral. So let me here, hold on. I have a little handy dandy image here. I just have to find it. There we go. Okay. So we talk a lot about how healing is this squiggly thing. Okay. A lot of us want healing to be this just like straightforward thing. Once a lesson happens and I learn from it, it never happens again. And then I just move forward. Okay. I just keep moving up. Things just keep getting better, blah, blah, blah. Right? No, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. Hate to break it to you, but I'm all about shattering unrealistic beliefs here, right? So healing is actually a squiggly like this. So we might be doing pretty great, learning, gaining new awareness, things are going well, we're getting up and up and up, and then whoop, something happens. It might be a triggering event, it might be a loss, it might be a memory, a time of year, it might be something new, something comes along and kind of whooshes us around. So look, this, being at this point, feels like you've moved backwards. It feels like I've been here before, I'm doing this all again, it's the exact same. But it's not the same, because look, you had all of this swoopy time in there, okay? So moving upward, boom, that's point A, point B. A and B are very different. They look the same, they feel similar, they're not the same. Okay, you didn't just move in a circle like this. You're actually moving like this. Okay, so when you're in those moments where you're like, this lesson is repeating itself, I'm just in the same point, I can't possibly feel grateful because I'm just feeling the same thing over and over and over, take a step back and remind yourself that this isn't the same thing. It might feel very similar. It might have so many similarities. It might feel really similar in the body, but it's different. What do you have now that you didn't have the last time you were there? What learning, what tools, what understanding, what supports, what outlets? What do you have now that you didn't have the last time you were in a similar situation? How are you different now than you were then? How are you better equipped now to handle this than you were then? Okay, because yes, if we are just approaching this from a mindset of this just keeps happening over and over and over, we're going to go into a victim mindset, and you can't access gratitude from a victim mindset, right? We can't do it. Those things often don't coexist. A victim mindset is, why me? This is happening to me. Life is happening to me. I have no control. This is happening over and over, right? If your perspective is, I'm just going around and around and around, the same thing keeps happening, you're going to access a victim mindset instead of gratitude. Whereas when we can notice, oof, this doesn't feel good, this feels really a lot like the last time my partner and I fought, or this feels a lot like the last time I got broken up with, this feels a lot like my first divorce, this feels a lot like it did with my dad when I was a kid. Whatever it's feeling like, when we can access, ooh, this feels a lot like that, and it's not that. This feels a lot like that time that I got hurt and made fun of. And that's not what's happening right now. This is something different. What do I have now that I didn't have when I got made fun of? What do I have now that I didn't have when we had an argument last year, or last week, or last night? What do I have now that I didn't have then? That helps us access our power, and that helps us tap into gratitude. Okay? Hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments. That I hope I interpreted that barrier well, but when I hear the lessons repeat and I can't get out of it, that sounds circular, and that sounds like a victim mindset to me. Okay, so stretch out that circle. It's not a circle, it's actually an upward swoop. Okay, let me know if that helps. Yes, the victim mindset are guilty of that. I'll think of that next time. We're all guilty of the victim mindset. We all are. We completely are. You are not alone in that. Okay? We've all gone into the victim mindset before. But recognizing that, ooh, my mind goes into victimization when this happens, that's the first step. That helps you break out of it. Okay, so just recognize that. Don't shame it, don't criticize it, don't judge it. Just recognize it. Okay. Whew. Nice. So to begin really cultivating and feeling gratitude, we have to address these barriers. Okay, most of us want to skip over the barriers and just be like, tell me how to feel grateful. The way to feel grateful is to dig into those barriers. All right, we need to have realistic expectations of what gratitude will do for us. And we need to make friends with our grief, y'all. We need to get real comfy with the discomfort that grief can bring. I'm not saying that grief is going to feel good. It's never going to feel good. But we need to get acquainted and comfy with the feeling of discomfort. Okay, that is my challenge to you this month. Kona, you are on a good path here for what I'm about to say. That's my challenge to you. Notice your barriers to accessing gratitude and start to face those barriers head on. It might not feel great, but you will not regret it in the long run. That I promise you. If you dive into these barriers, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to feel good, you won't regret it. Okay, it will be worth it in the long run. That is my challenge to you. Okay, notice your barriers, head into those barriers, head on. All right. Chelsea's going to be back in a couple of weeks for our next episode, and she's going to dive into embodying gratitude. So we really worked on, we really talked about debunking gratitude today, just understanding it, getting us all on the same page of what the hell even is gratitude, what does it mean, and what are some of the barriers. Chelsea's going to dive us into how do we begin to feel that from the inside out. Remember I said that that third barrier that I just kind of sprinkled in there is waiting for something external to make you feel grateful. We're going to be accessing it from the inside out. Okay. In the meantime, in the next couple weeks before our next episode, what I want to invite you to do is share in a separate post. If you are part of this Moving Beyond Fear Facebook group, share in a separate post using #gratitude. How are you consciously choosing an energy of gratitude in your life and your relationship? And I'm referring to a grounded, realistic approach to gratitude, okay? How are you consciously choosing this energy of gratitude in your life and your relationship? And what does that look like for you, okay? What does that look like for you? Is that taking a deep breath when your partner does something you don't like? Is it spending time with the uglier parts of yourself, those deeper, kind of ickier parts? Is it spending time consciously reflecting on what's happening in the present moment and practicing gratitude for that? Okay, how are you consciously practicing this, and what does that look like for you? Okay, and if you want more support in this, remember in the beginning I had said we will always provide further resources in these videos, in these episodes, if you are needing and wanting more support. If you're needing more support on this, I want to guide you towards our group program. It's the Luscious Love Immersion program. It is our core relationship anxiety program here at, I almost said here at ROCD, here at Healing Embodied. It's our core program. We dive into all of this 1,000 times deeper. We move through 4 different modules. We start with the love wound detox, really understanding your individual core drivers of the anxiety, the internalized beliefs. Remember, I started by asking what are the messages you've heard about gratitude. We dive into that. We move into coming home to the self, really identifying the body as home and the emotions as visitors. So we dive into embodied love, grief, gratitude, joy, all of it. We address how to see through the lens of love versus the lens of fear. So if you notice that you lack gratitude when it comes to these parts of yourself or your partner that you don't like as much, the parts that aren't so pretty, parts that are harder to navigate through, that is what we dive into in that module. And then we explore a return to intimacy, how we can really cultivate an energy of love, joy, vulnerability, connection, deep trust, deep intimacy in ourselves and in our relationship. It's a beautiful, amazing program. And this is the last month that we are going to be offering it at the current price. We have revamped that program. We have added more layers of support. We've added a new one-to-one strategy call that you get with that program. We are just amplifying it even more. This program has been around now for just over a year. We started it in November of 2020. It makes me emotional to think about how much it's grown in the past year. And we are just adding more, revamping, tweaking, more support. So in the new year, starting January 1st, it is going up to $1,555. This is the last month to snag your spot at $1,444. So if you are wanting more support with gratitude, with trust, with love, with intimacy, with all things relationship anxiety and love and joy, join now. You will get grandfathered in at the current price to all of the new stuff that's coming and has come into that program. It's amazing. It's my favorite one. So if you're needing support, that's the place to head. Drop any questions you have below. Chelsea and I would be happy to chat with you about the program and see if it feels like a good fit for you. Okay. All right, my dears. Great work. This is longer actually than I expected it to be. It's always longer than I expect it to be. That's what she said. All right, you guys. Have such a good week. I will be back in the new year with with my next episode. Chelsea will be back in a couple of weeks to dive into embodying gratitude. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.